Welcome, AP students. I want to take some time today just to work through 5 steps to success that the College Board has laid out to help you get ready for the AP exam. And so we'll kind of go through those, and some of these things are going to be repeated from the last video. Some of them are going to go maybe into a little bit more depth than what we had in the last video. But again, just 5 steps for you to keep in mind. So the first step is to make sure that you have reviewed your contact information on the College Board. If you have not been getting emails from the College Board, make sure you log on. Hopefully you remember your username and password to get into the College Board account. But get on there, make sure you've updated that, because your testing ticket is going to be emailed to you 2 days before you take the test. So for calculus, that'll be on May 10th. For stats, that'll be on May 20th. But you need to have that contact information correct. Once you get that email, don't forward it to a different email. Just because you maybe wanted it on a different email account, because that's going to trigger some security measures that are tagged in that ticket. So make sure that you just keep it on the same email account. Again, if you need to access that from a different location where you don't have access to your school email or whatever email you have put in, you can access that e-ticket on College Board. So you might want to just make sure you go there if you're going to need to use that. Today, on May 4th, you should be getting an email that confirms your testing schedule. So that's a good check. If you don't get that email from them today, then make sure you've gone on and updated your contact information. You also want to check your spam folder if that's the case. So step one is to make sure that contact information is correct on the College Board. Step two, you need to start thinking about your testing conditions. Decide what you're going to use to test on. Are you going to use your Chromebook? Do you have something else you want to use? Make sure whatever you use that you're going to have access to that e-ticket either through the email or through the College Board site. You need to start thinking about whether you're going to write your responses or type your responses. If you're going to write your responses, you need to start thinking about the environment so that you can take a good, clear picture of your work. If you're going to type your responses, then I would suggest that you go look at, there's some keyboarding tips that I've linked on the Canvas AP resources page that the College Board has put out, just to kind of tell you how you would type in things like Y bar or Y hat if you're in stats, or how to type in an integral if you're in calculus. So look over those if you plan on typing your responses. Regardless, you can go ahead and start putting those pages together ahead of time. If you're going to use a Google Doc, you can go ahead and save your Google Docs and get them all set up with your AP ID and initials at the top. If you're going to write them, you can go ahead and take your lined paper and go ahead and put your ID at the top with your initials at the top. So you can go ahead and start getting that stuff ready as well. You need to start thinking about where you're going to test. Find a good location where you're going to have limited distractions, but of course you want to make sure you've got good internet connections. So start thinking about that. Start letting everybody know that you're going to be testing on that day, May 12th, May 22nd. You're going to be unavailable from about 1:30 until 3, so that people aren't trying to get in touch with you or whatever. So just make sure that everybody's aware that you are unavailable at that time. And then also just make sure wherever you're at that you've got plenty of room to spread out. Make sure you've got proper lighting, especially if you're going to be writing your responses and taking pictures. So you want to start thinking through that so that when the time comes, you've got all that out of the way. You also want to start practicing submitting your responses. And there's an online practice or exam demo available at the website that I've got up here. You can also, if you just go to College Board, you'll be able to find it that way as well. But as you're working through that exam demo, it's going to give you a chance to look at the different types of file submissions to practice uploading. So make sure you do that. Make sure that this exam site works, because if the practice doesn't work, the test isn't going to work either. So you need to get those problems taken care of as soon as possible. So you need to log in and work on that exam demo and make sure you've got it figured out. If you're going to be taking pictures of your handwritten work, go ahead and practice doing that. Submit them. Look at them once you've submitted them. Make sure that it's going to be something that can be graded. Make sure you're writing dark enough. Make sure you've got the right kind of lighting so that when you take a picture of it, it looks like something that somebody could read and grade. So you need to be doing this exam demo, though. If you do have any troubles as you're working through it, on page 51 in the AP guide that I've linked on the Canvas page, or that's also on the College Board website, there is a list of troubleshooting tips for you, but also reach out to the Clay Community School helplines, and I've given you that information there, a couple of different ways you can reach out to those. Probably the bottom one is better than the top one. The top one is really more for Canvas issues, but if you're stuck, go ahead and reach out to that one too, and they can get it directed in the right spot. So you need to be working on that. You need to be making sure that exam demo site works. And you can do that right away. You don't even have to wait for an email from the College Board for that. Start getting together the stuff you're going to need when you take your test, which includes your e-ticket. Now, you're not going to get that until 2 days before your test, so either May 10th or May 20th. But again, you can go ahead and make sure that email is right that they're going to send it to. There's an AP student test checklist. Make sure you get that looked at, get that printed off if you want. You can put your AP ID number on that, so you've got a really handy place where that's at. But you want to look through that checklist, go over it several times, make sure that you can check off everything you need to be able to check off on there. Make sure you've got a device with a browser and an internet connection that will work. And again, if you go through that exam demo today on May 4th, that's available, or here in the next couple of days, make sure you do it with the device you're going to use. As I've said, you can go ahead and start putting your documents and your papers and all that together with your initials and your AP ID number at the top, so that when it comes time for the test, you don't have to do that. It's just already there, already ready for you to type in and work. Start getting together your calculator. If you're going to use any notes or study guides, remember those can be digital or handwritten, but start getting those things together as you're working through these practice problems. If there's things you want to remember, make sure you write those on a sheet so that you can find those quickly as you're taking the test. There are some reference sheets available at the College Board site. I think I've linked most of those on Canvas as well. This is mainly for stats as far as that reference sheet goes. It's the same reference sheet that I have given you all year, so you don't really need to download it if you've got that one available. But if you don't, you can go online and you can grab that reference sheet with all your tables. Remember, you can't use any shared docs when you're taking the exam. So if you're putting together a reference sheet or a review sheet with somebody else, that's fine. That's probably a good idea. But just make sure when it's time for the exam, you download a personal copy of that so that you're not both working on the same doc at the same time. Because again, that's going to trigger some security somewhere, and your score will probably not count, and you may get in even more trouble than that. So just make sure that if you are using shared docs right now, that you download personal copies when you get ready to take the exam. And then the last step to share with you from the College Board is, again, just start making sure you're looking out for that e-ticket, and make sure you get that exam confirmation. So the confirmation should come on May 4th. And then 2 days prior, you should be getting your e-ticket for the exam. Don't delete that e-ticket. Don't forward it. You will need that e-ticket if you decide to request a makeup too. So don't delete it for that reason either. So you're going to continue working on some AP review today. And again, it's set up on MyOpenMath, but it's a little bit different than the setup that you've used before, because basically you're going to have 4 chances for each question. And as you work through those 4 chances, the first time, there's probably not going to be any hints that show up. If you miss it on the first time, there are going to be some hints that show up the second time, and maybe even some different hints the third time. After the third time you get it wrong, though, there should be some boxes at the bottom that say show answer. If you click on that, it's actually going to tell you what the answer is, so you can type it in and get it right on your last chance. However, do that. I want you to get the questions right. But if you are really serious about doing well on the AP exam and you don't understand why those are the right answers, then go to that discussion board that is on our Canvas page and say, hey, I don't understand how to get the answer on problem number 1C. And then I will try to reply back. Or if you see somebody has posted that and you know how to get that answer, feel free to reply and answer their question. So I want you to use those discussion boards, because that way it's a handy place for everybody to go and get answers if they don't understand how to do problem 1C either. So if there's any questions that you have on your practice, make sure you get those posted on the discussion board. All right, well, good luck. Continue to study for your AP exam and continue to reach out with any questions. All right, have a good day.